After centuries, vampires have found that their legacy processes no longer work. They were designed at a time when catching victims was simpler. With new vampire quotas at an all-time low, our PM, Contracula, was called into the head vampire's office and told to figure it out. Contracula has asked his contracting officer, the Mummy, to help find the scariest monsters around to help him replace the ways of the old world. He plans to issue a base +4 to a big company. Is this the end of vampire kind?
Oh, are you kidding me? This is ridiculous. Oh. That was the worst night of sleep of my life. I will never let my money CO buy my coffins using LPTA procedures again.
Sir, I brought you the scariest monsters I could find to help you attract more prey.
Oh, that's scary.
Yeah. Pretty good, right?
I've got goosebumps. Who are you supposed to be? You don't look scary.
I'm a government procurement lawyer.
Thank you for coming and helping me with my problem. My name is Contracula, and I need help attracting more victims.
You gonna do that accent the whole video?
Yes, it's wonderful and very authentic. I'm going for this Eastern European thing.
All right, Count. So why have you summoned us here?
Yes, my problem. My business processes from the old world no longer work. I'm going hungry, and my new vampire quota is down. I need a new way to capture my victims. I'm going to give you $100 million to find me a new way.
Well, Count, you don't live in the old world anymore. That could be the problem. These days, you will get better results by focusing on your victims' needs and moving fast and nimble.
Yeah, kind of like Agile contracting?
Yes. Tell me, Count, how did you create contracts in the old world?
Ah, the contracting of the old world. Part 15. And now, we make a sacrifice to the Father.
Okay, all right, that's good. Count, have you ever heard of iterative or even modular development?
Modular. Sounds creepy.
It's actually very liberating. First things first, Count. We have to take you out of the old world into the new. For example, the new world is not in black and white. So let's start there.
Wow.
My shirt's green?
Next, let's explain Agile contracting.
The traditional way we tend to buy IT is identified on the left-hand side. This is where we go out, we assume we can identify every single requirement, and then we package that requirement into a statement of work. And it creates problems like potential vendor lock-in, and it certainly doesn't align or allow us with the ability to adjust when we find out about new requirements. The new way of buying, which is this iterative, agile way, is identified as the best practice for software development. It allows us the ability to buy as it relates to the end user needs, and is a much more efficient process when done correctly.
It's all well and good, but how do I make such a thing work?
Well, let's start with your product vision. Now, this is one of the most overlooked steps in any acquisition project. If you want to work as a motivated team and deliver real value to end users, everyone needs to rally around a good product vision. It's like the North Star for the team.
The product vision tells us what our goal is, what we're ultimately marching to. It's that mountain off in the distance that we're tracking towards. And anything that takes us away from the path to that mountain, to that goal, is something we may want to consider to remove from our vision. Here are a couple of examples of some product visions, and notice that they're simple, they're aspirational, and they never call out what the technology solution is going to be.
So my product vision is my goal? The thing I want most? My reason for existing?
Yeah, well, it's the solution to your problem, but it's aspirational and doesn't overly define what your solution is. So, let's figure out what yours is. All right, so need more victims, PC suffers, must live. Got it.
All right, we've talked about your problem and what you really need. We also talked about how we could achieve this in different ways that might not have stuck out to you. So here is our working product vision. In order to bring victims, you will create a haunted putt-putt course. Your vision is, our haunted putt-putt golf course will bring our local community together as a gathering place for people of all ages to laugh, fall in love, and become the undead.
I must have it. Tell me how to get it.
Now, creating this product vision is a great first step. You want to include this in all of your documentation and messaging. Your statement of objectives, for example. It's going to be the continuous unifying message for the whole team and what will alleviate confusion. Speaking of team,
the Scrum team is incredibly powerful and important when it comes to digital service buying, and what you'll see here are 3 different personas that we're going to focus on. The first is that product owner. This is arguably the most important person in all of the Scrum team. They're someone, probably from the government side of the house, that understands the needs of the end users. They are empowered to make final decisions about the product, and they are engaged the whole way around. This is not someone who has just been delegated the title of product owner. This is someone who is very strong, someone who you're really going to need buy-in from. In addition, we have a Scrum Master. This person is particularly interested in transparency, and they're going to work very closely with the product owner, with the PM, with whoever needs to be in the know to help remove roadblocks and also report on how the development is going. There's a lot more to the Scrum Master, but for now, I think that's a good introduction to them. And lastly, we have the development team. These are your designers. These are the folks who are coding for you. These are the folks who are helping you with security, the folks who are helping you with integrating with different products when necessary, and are oftentimes very necessary. And the last group that I'll mention that's not identified on this screen, and not necessarily part of the development team, but very essential for digital services, are your training folks, your communications folks, your change management people. Don't forget about those folks in your solicitation. They are critical. Adoption is a huge problem when it comes to IT. It doesn't matter who wants the product, all right? You need to make sure you have a team of folks there that are helping you implement this product from the standpoint of the people.
Now that's out of the way, we need to discuss your end users. I mean your victims. In order to attract the victims to your putt-putt course, we need to know what it is that will be most useful to them. This means that the entire planning of the course, the contracts, and performance is all focused around the victim. If you don't get this part right, no one is going to come.
But why talk to them? I think we could figure out what the victims need without engaging.
That's just the old country talking. In the modern world, we're more aware of the failure that comes from keeping our victims engaged from the very beginning. As a lawyer, I hate to say it, but requirements do not equal usable products. It's user-centric performance.
now do you have that end user victim we asked you to bring?
Ah, yes. Fresh from the mall.
Perfect. All right, now let's talk about building a backlog.
The backlog is where we're going to hold our user stories, which are these features that are essential for people to complete their mission inside of a system, for example. Now, we use a simple way of looking at the product backlog. As you see here, we really focus on the role, the goal, and the value that's created. And we even have an example for you so you better understand what that user story might look like. So, as a vegan vampire, I need the golf course to offer vegan food options so my future vampire will be well fed when I feast. We want to focus once again in on what is critical to accomplish the mission.
Wunderbar. Let's get to work.
Please, can I go now?
Go? Why do you want to leave? I'm making this for you.
Okay, let's look at what we've done so far. Now notice how we focused on a simple structure. We identified the victims, the end users. In this case, let's see, we'll read one. Okay, so here we have a father who scares easy but wants a nice relaxing place to take the family. He needs it to be free of stress. He's got a hard enough job and he does not like stress.
Remember, we aren't looking to include wants here. We want to focus on the things needed to accomplish the mission. Now let's go ahead and think a little bit about...
Wait, So where does the contracting office fit into all of these?
The contracting officer can fit into a number of places within this process. For example, maybe you as the contracting officer want to be engaged in identifying the definition of done so that during the review phase, when you're seeing demonstrations, you can hold vendors' feet to the fire when necessary. Or perhaps as you're doing your market research, you want to engage with a number of vendors and help them walk through the process so that you yourself can better define a product vision with the program office and then release that as part of the solicitation. The potential combinations for you as a contracting officer engaging with the program in this regard are endless. We provide a few examples here, but really that's going to be up to you.
Okay, back to these victim stories. Now, Contracula. It's time to do something more folks from the old world really don't like to do. We need to prioritize.
When you're getting ready to prioritize, there are a few different things you can take into account when deciding on, of course, a priority. For example, the risk, the complexity are going to be important factors when you're identifying what's going to go into, say, a different sprint. It's going to be essential for you to do this and be very clear in where you think each of these stories falls.
Look at the board! Look at it! Is this what you want? Will this bring me more victims?
Please, please. I'm just one person, but I tried my best.
All right, tone it down there, Count. It's time to write some acceptance criteria for the backlog.
Acceptance criteria is a very interesting thing. It's black and white. It allows you, the government, to evaluate how work is going and whether or not a feature has met the definition of done, for example. In this case, we're talking exclusively about acceptance criteria, and the example we've provided is, as the Prince of Darkness, I need a way to keep future vampires inside my golf course so I may increase my vampire quota. An acceptance criteria may be a 6-foot fence is in place all around the perimeter, the fence has additional provisions to keep folks inside, and no garlic. The acceptance criteria place may be very important for you as the contracting office, mostly because of what we've already talked about. During demonstration times, you want to make sure that the works that's supposed to have been done is in fact complete and that end users have a working feature. Acceptance criteria helps with that.
I like this acceptance criteria. It gives me and Mummy enough ammo to hold vendors to the fire when they start developing.
That's exactly what it does. Now, what most people miss when they build something new is a way to really know if the product works. This is just another way to keep people accountable for the solution.
Yes. Now we should make the vendors tell us exactly how long it will take them to complete all this.
No, that's a terrible idea. After all, we really don't know what it will truly take to get this completed. Instead, let's try to give our team some understanding of the potential effort associated with these tasks so we can resource appropriately. It's time to talk about story points.
Story points are unitless measures of relative size. They really allow us to focus on complexity, risk, comparisons, things like this. We try and stay away from hours because it's very difficult to tie hours to different bits of work that are happening. Frankly, until we get into the environment, we don't really have enough information to even know if we can properly tie what the work might look like as it relates to hours. So we focus on story points to allow for us to evaluate perceived effort.
Ah, interesting. So these story points help us better think through effort without trying to impose artificial hours over them. That would go a long way for planning.
Exactly. But frankly, iterative methods are all about planning. More than you'd get if you tried to do something like a waterfall project up and running because of the over-prescriptive SOW, or statement of work.
Now that we've done all that, what happens next?
Now, we build a wireframe.
Okay, Count. Now, as you can see, we've set up our Scrum board. It lays out all the activities we will be completing this first sprint. Now, I'll need you here as the product owner in case we have questions. And at the end of the sprint, we'll need the end user to take a look and give us feedback. Are you ready? All right, our first sprint is done. It's time for a demo. Now remember, We demo so that you know we've done our job and to make sure the features are working for our end user. Where is our end user? All right, well, we got some really great feedback from the victim, and we ended up bringing in a few more additional thoughts. Count, lawyer, any additional thoughts here?
I felt like things went well. I did have some concerns about security testing. We almost had to make a mod because we forgot about some considerations. In the next sprint, can we add in some testing earlier?
Great point. Now, we don't want to let security be an afterthought.
This is going well.
Your glasses, they're new.
Silence! It's very different than how I've done things in the past. The extra effort to engage did concern me, but I am the product owner after all.
Great. Well, as you know, we have already gotten our work put together for Sprint 2, so work will begin shortly. Well, everyone, I think we've got a good design MVP ready for us to take a look at. Now, if you recall, we covered the following to get here, and voila.
Oh, I love it!
Now, this took a whole lot of planning, but it was worth it. And we were able to work the features in that would best fit the MVP, and the feedback has been tremendous. We've hit all the measurements needed for our award term. So now we will move into a build phase and get this ready for you.
Excellent. And soon, the world will be mine! What a whirlwind it has been. Since the project was wrapped up, it made finding my prey much easier.
Success has been clear. We met every bit of acceptance criteria, and the undead rate is up 15%.
The team worked hard to get this done. There were some setbacks.
Paperwork.
I kept accidentally biting end users.
There was a mob with pitchforks at one point.
Oh, and the lawyers made it all the more difficult with their paperwork and not understanding anything about technology.
Tell me again what he said about lawyers?
But all in all, we really knocked it out of the park. We even introduced Contracula to a Quasp.
I'm really excited to learn how to use this thing called a Quasp to better manage my contracts.
Tell me again what he said about lawyers?